Hi, welcome to Media in Drupal 8, everything you need to know. I hope your last session was informative. This one will hopefully be informative too, and not annoying. So I called this session Everything You Need to Know because there's a lot I could say about the media system and about the media initiative, and most of it's not relevant for you in your day-to-day. So this isn't going to be the most technical session in the world. I'm usually pretty deep in the trenches of code and stuff, but I want to talk about it more from the perspective of a site builder, content author, somebody who's not rooting around deep in Drupal code and complex abstract stuff all day, every day. So I want to give you the basics and like the practical knowledge that you actually can use to leverage the media system. And if there's anything else you want to know, just talk to me afterwards and I will tell you everything you want to know. So let's start. Yay! That's a picture I got at Pub Trivia. So my name is Adam Globus Honig. I go by Fenna which is slightly less complicated. I'm a senior software engineer at Acquia's Drupal acceleration team, which mostly works on Drupal core. I'm the unofficial coordinator of the media initiative, which means I'm not listed in that capacity, but I heard all the cats. And I co-maintain the media system, co-maintain the Lightning distribution. You can always find me in contribution rooms because I will be gesticulating and cursing wildly, also laughing a lot. It's not completely unpleasant. So just a quick overview of what I want to talk about today. I want to start with just kind of a 10,000-foot overview of the media system, what its purpose is, how it fits together, and explain how it relates to the image and file fields that we know and love, which is sort of the traditional way of dealing with media in Drupal. And then I'm going to do a giant live demo against my better judgment and all of my instincts, because I just feel like it's easier to sort of show this stuff than talk about it, especially with the media system is a little complex, it's a little new, so that I think will help. I want to talk about a couple of useful modules that may help you in your media travels, talk about briefly what's next for the media initiative in Drupal, and then I'll just take questions, and that will be it. So yeah, let's go into it. So here's the 10,000-foot overview of the media system and what it does. It has two purposes, and because it has two purposes, it has two modules in it. The first module is called Media, and its job is to represent media as Drupal entities. It's been in Drupal core as a stable module since 8.4. It has no relation at all to the old media module from Drupal 7, so I know they share a name. I know that's confusing. We have a jargon problem. It's a thing. The other module is called Media Library, which you've probably heard of, and you've probably heard the fanfare that it's now stable in Drupal 8.8. And its purpose is to make media entities reusable to content authors in a nice user interface. You've probably seen this pattern before. There's Views and Views UI as well, kind of similar, where media is the plumbing and Media Library is the user interface. Similar to Views, except it's nowhere near as crazy as Views. So talking about the media system, or the media module, which is sort of the foundation of that, as I said, its purpose is to represent media as Drupal entities, and that means media items are entities. And that means they have all superpowers that entities have. They can take fields, they are translatable, they can be versioned, they can be themed, they can be moderated with workflows, they can work with Layout Builder, they can work with views. All that stuff media can do. That's why I used a picture of Jack Jack from The Incredibles, because not only is he the youngest, he has literally all the superpowers. So media is, I think I'm going to try to make him the mascot, honestly, because he's a good mascot too. So anything you can do with entities, almost anything, you can do with media. And the other thing you need to know is that media items, like content and like nodes in Drupal, have types. I'm going to talk more about that because this is where things get a little abstract for one slide, so stick with me. So let's talk about media types. I spent a lot of time on this slide trying to get media types down to the bare essentials that again, the stuff you really need to know. And this is what I came up with. They're very similar, broadly speaking, to content types. Nodes are a kind of entity. They have types. Those are content types. Media are entities. they have types, those are media types. So generally, things you can do with content types can be done with media types as well. There are some things, though, that set media types apart. Firstly, they all have what's known as a source. And source is kind of a fancy word for what kind of media you're dealing with. So an example, the most classic example is something like images. An image is a source of media. YouTube is a source of media, like remote video, as it's called in core. A tweet, Twitter, could be a source. Instagram posts could be a source. Maybe a Spotify playlist, SoundCloud track, et cetera, some custom thing, maybe from a DAM. So it can get pretty abstract, and just all of these are different kinds of media, and that is what Drupal refers to as a source. Every media type is associated with a source, and you could have several media types for a single source. So you can have multiple media types that use the image source, for example. The other thing to know is that every media type has at least one field on it, and that is called the source field. And its purpose, it's created automatically, first of all, when you create a media type. And the purpose of the source field is to store the single most important thing there is to know about any given piece of media. So as an example, if you have a YouTube video, what's the most, like without the URL, you got nothing. So the most important thing to store about a YouTube video is a URL. And so the source field will be created as a text field in which you put a URL. An image, I'd say the image file is the most important thing. So you get an image field as your source field when you create an image media type. And so what the most important thing is and what form that takes will vary depending on what sort of media we're talking about, but every media type will have a source field. It'll always have a source, and that's that. The source field stores the most important thing. So if we put all this together, it looks like this. All media items have a type, and they have a source field on that type, and for every single media item you have, that source field has a value. And that's kind of it. There's no exceptions to this. This is how media works in Drupal core. And that's, okay, why did it not advance on my side here? That's annoying. Come on. Now, there we are. So yeah, that is, if that feels a little bit complicated, you're not wrong. It is more complicated. It's more abstract. There's more layers to it than in traditional image fields. So why is this good? This is good because, for one thing, media can be a lot more than just images. They could be YouTubes. That's useful, I think. They also can become reusable by this mechanism. And I'm going to go more into that in a moment. And they're all consistent. And come on, really? That is the most annoying thing. Okay, why are we not... There we go. Oh, now I see what's going on. It's just I have to click into both windows. Thanks. Yeah, so this architecture makes things more powerful. It makes things more flexible, and it makes things more consistent. So no matter whether you're dealing with a video, a tweet, an image, whatever, it's handled basically all the same way. And that is good. Oh, right. But it is a little bit more complicated. So I diagrammed it to kind of hammer this home. That with an image field, in ye olden days, you have your node. It has an image field on it. That field can have images. The node really owns the image. If you want to reuse that same image somewhere else, you just better have that image file lying around because you're going to be uploading it again. The media system, the node references the media, and the media has the image and owns the image. So you can, any number of nodes or whatever can reference that media. And that's sort of it. This is the major difference. So how do you reuse things, and also how do you advance my damn slides? Okay, cool. So how do you reuse things? That's the media library module. And I say finally, because it's finally in core, it is finally stable in Drupal 8.8, and every other CMS that I know of has had this kind of thing for literally years, forever. So we finally have it. Yay. So the media library is just the author-facing UI for selecting and adding media, from where you're editing your content, and that's all it's really for. It's pretty simple to use, at least I think so, and I can tell you a lot of work went into making it very usable. It's also accessible to the best extent we could get it, and there's still bugs in that space, but end of rant. It is customizable to an extent. It has strong opinions about how it should look, but it's built around a view, and that view is something that you are allowed to modify and customize to pretty much however you want to do it. And it works with CK Editor so that you can embed media, add media into a WYSIWYG. And that works pretty nicely. It can also be integrated with other things because it has a very lightweight, lost connection to server. This really bodes well for a live demo, doesn't it? And yeah, it has a pretty lightweight API so that you can integrate it with other things too. The only catch is that it only works with media. You cannot use this thing with image fields. You can't use it to select nodes. There is a way to do that, and I will talk about it, but the media library only works with media, and that's that. So let us recap before I have to live demo this whole thing. Media are entities. Media entities have a type. Those types have a special field in which to store their important data, and they can therefore be more than just images. In image fields, the content that has the image field is the thing that owns the image, and it cannot be reused. And with media fields, it's the media that owns the image, and therefore the content references the media, thus enabling reusability. And the media library is how you do this, and it only works with media. This is everything you absolutely need to know, in my opinion. So with that in mind, it's live demo time. I know. I wasn't sure what to put up there. It's like going to be sharks or jaws or something like. So let's see. Look what I have. I found a Drupal. And I'm going to have to do this thing like this, I think. Otherwise, I cannot see it. So I have a Drupal. It's using Bardic. And I have a couple of articles with two of my favorite ipsums in it. So Zombie Ipsum. Samuel L. Ipsum is also my favorite, but it's a little bit not work safe for the record, as you might guess. Well, there's like a light version with no cursing, so that's cool. And what I want to do here, because zombies are scary, is I want to add some baby sloths to this. And I don't have an image field on this or anything. I have nowhere to add. Oh yeah, I'm also using Claro in the back end because, yay. I don't have an image field or anywhere to add sloths, so I want to add a media field here. So let's go try to do that. I should also mention that I have no media types in here. Normally when you install Drupal and install the media library module, you will get some types to work with so that you don't have to do this, but I deleted them for the purposes of demo. So let's go to the content type, and we'll look at my fields, and let's try adding a field for media. A label, I'm just going to call this the sloths field. Did I spell sloths right? Yeah.
There you go.
There we go. There will be unlimited sloths. More sloths, always sloths. So, okay, this looks pretty good, except no media types are here. So, no media type field. So it's basically mad at us because we want to reference media types, but there are no media types. So, okay, we hit a wall. But I knew that was coming. Ha ha. So let's add some media types for this. You go to structure, and media types is where you handle your media types. There are none available. This is all pretty standard. Looks like adding a content type. So let's add two. Let's add a type for images of baby sloths and also for videos of baby sloths, because I want to have some videos of baby sloths, and no one can say I'm wrong. So we'll create a type for images, and we'll just call that image, because it may hold things that are not sloths. These are the sources that you get out of the box in core. Modules can provide additional sources. These are just the ones that come with Drupal. So we'll use the image source. And there's all this stuff that we can completely safely ignore, because that's all advanced and I don't have time to go into it. So we'll save that media type. And now we have an image media type. Cool. So let's add one for YouTube videos as well. Okay, where's my mouse? So this one, I'll just call this, let's call this video, I think. The media source for this that comes with Core is called Remote Video. It lets you connect to videos that are either on YouTube or Vimeo, one or both. I'm just going to let it use both in case Vimeo has good sloth videos. Maybe it does. All this field mapping I don't care about. And that's pretty much it. So that was really, really stupid easy. If we look at our media type, at either of them, we'll see that we have a field automatically there. This is the source field. It doesn't indicate it in any special way, and maybe it should, but it doesn't. Video has one as well. And it's just a different type of field, but it's there. So cool. Now we at least have some media types that we can reference. So let's try to add that field again. To article. And we'll add, oh my God. You know, my neck already hurt from a concert I was at the other day, and like now this is going to just make it worse. Okay, sloths.
The Tool concert?
Hmm?
Was it the Tool concert?
No, it was an Opio concert.
Damn.
Yeah. Don't worry, there was a lot of like thrashing around. It's very funky.
Cool.
So yeah, unlimited sloths, save my field, and now I have some media types. Woohoo! And I want to reference both of these types, be able to reference both of these types. And we don't really need to do anything else, so we'll save that. And now let's see what happens if I go and try to add some sloths to zombie Ipsum. Well, I have this nice field. So we click Add Media, and lo and behold, it is the media library, which actually looks terrible in Claro. You know, I really should have thought of that, but they'll fix that in Core. Anyway, I can still demo the basics of this. Live demo? Yeah, so I'll start by adding some images here. The media library is segmented out by type, so you can only see media of one type at any given time, but you can choose as many as you want across different types, and it'll just sort of work. So let's upload a few of these guys. You can upload a bunch at once. And when you do that, you have to fill in some required fields for, this will vary depending on media type. So when you're creating a, as I said, this actually looks terrible in Claro and they need to fix this, but whatever. When you're creating media, in the media library, depending on the media type, you may have some additional fields to fill in. So images, anytime you add one, even in an image field, you have to enter alt text. This is true when you create media that are image media as well. You need to put some alt text in here. So let's do that. Bucket sloth. And this is just like adorable sloth. Fuzzy sloth. Not a sloth. See, this is where I'm going to go ahead and just let that slide. So we'll save that, and now we have our media in here, and it's all pre-selected for us. I'm going to deselect this guy because I don't want him in my sloth pictures. And we'll insert that over here. And so, is it draggable still? Yeah, it is. I can still rearrange that. Cool. Normally, this would be a grid if I was using Bartik and 7 for the record. I really should not have changed it to Claro. There was my mistake.
Just change it.
I'm going to, yeah, well, okay, fine. I'm going to do that.
You're losing all the great UX work that was done.
Not all of it.
Well.
Okay, I'm going to change it back to, that's why Claro is experimental. All right. Hang on, I'm going to save this first. Then I'll show you what it really looks like in the admin theme we actually use. There. You can drag them around like that. Oh, and the media library looks this way too, by the way. Yeah, it's nicer. Thanks. You can reorder them also by, this is an accessibility thing. You can just reorder them using the keyboard if you want. Why am I clicking with the mouse? I don't know, because I kind of suck at keyboard things. So now we have our sloths in there. So they're not, the reason they are there, or okay, they're there. I want them in the sidebar. So let's fix that. Put them in, I have a layout builder thing going on with a sidebar here. So let's change the display. Where's my sloth field? Yes. My sloth field with a dog in it. This is going so well.
You get the idea.
Oh yeah, no, that's all I'm going for. Yeah, there's my sloths in the sidebar. Excellent. The zombies seem much less scary now. But I want to add a sloth video here as well, because I can. So let's go to our videos and let's add one. Let's find a YouTube. Let's find something on YouTube. So baby sloth. Wouldn't it be terrible if there was a baby sloth version of Baby Shark? That became the unofficial theme song of the media initiative for a while, and I was pissed. Okay, so we'll take that one, add it. No extra fields to fill out here. There's just a name, and it has a default, which I think is completely fine. So we'll save that. Works the same way, pre-selected. Insert that, and we'll drag this over here. These two guys look pretty similar, so I'm going to remove one. Just keep 3 things. Oh, wait, I'm sorry, that's the wrong thing. So let's save. And we have a live video. Amazing. And that's that. So that's how you use media in a field using the media library. It's pretty straightforward, except for creating some media types, which you normally won't have to do in a new install of Drupal 8.8. That was pretty much 0 configuration. So I think the zombies are, I'm not scared of the zombies anymore. So the other aspect of this, of course, is you can embed this in WYSIWYG. I'm going to show you how to set that up, and we'll get a sloth here. We'll get a sloth into Samuel L. Lipson here. So this needs a little touch of configuration, because currently, if I go to edit it, in my WYSIWYG, this is just for an image. This we know and love. There's no way yet to put media in here. So let's go configure this text format to use, or was it text formats and editors, to use the media library. Pretty sure that was basic HTML. So when you have the media library module installed and you come to configure a text editor, you get this button right here, an image with some notes on it. So there's your media library button. To avoid confusion, I'm just going to send you back once you came. And that's pretty much it. The only other thing you have to do is make sure this filter embed media is enabled and runs after everything else. Beyond that, there's a couple of other options that are more advanced that I don't have time to go into. But that's the most basic and easy way to get the media library working with CK Editor. So let's go back to my article, edit it again. And we have, oh, I'm sorry, what? You're mad at me? Come on. And now we have the media library button. You click this, you get the media library. Should we embed an image, or you know what? I think the dog deserves his day. So we'll insert this, and now we have this in there. Looks kind of like just a normal image, nothing too special about this. You can do some things though. For one, like with normal images that are embedded, you can align left, right, or center, or not. You can override the alt text for this particular embed if different alt text would make more sense in this particular context, which is important for a tag and other accessibility things. I'm just going to do that. This is an adorable, oh my God. I cannot type. Dirk. And then you can add captions, much like with images. Look at this good boy. And it aligns, and I don't know, I kind of want it to be on the right. Let's see. Yeah, I like that better. So let's save this. No sloth. Actually, you know what? Why not? Let's have a sloth party. I'm going to do it. Okay, so we're going to have tons of adorable animals on just every page. So looking at that, yep, I have my align thing. It's just right in here. And I have my sloths pretty much as I expect. And that is how you set this thing up in CK Editor, which concludes the live demo portion of this, unless there's something else you would like to see that I didn't cover. Thanks.
I have a question.
Yeah?
Is the entity embed in 8.8 or 8.7?
The entity embed thing is in 8.8. So everything you just saw is, okay, wow, this is being a pain in the ass. Everything you just saw is in Drupal 8.8. The media library is in 8.7, but the WYSIWYG stuff is all in 8.8, plus additional bug fixes that are nice. So that was 8.8 RC1, which came out last night. But yeah, you want to do the embedding, that needs 8.8. The field stuff works in 8.7, so that's cool. So yeah, to get towards the end of this thing, I want to just quickly touch on 2 useful modules and 1 useless one. The useful module number 1 is Entity Browser, which you've probably heard of. This lets you do, this can do everything Media Library does, but it takes a hell of a lot more setup. It's a lot more complicated because it was built to be generic, it was built to be open-ended, and it lets you embed anything, not just media. I said before that Media Library works only with media. Entity Browser works with anything that is an entity. So if you want to embed nodes in your nodes, because bro, I heard you like nodes, feel free to do that. And it'll work alongside Media Library and other core tools peacefully. So it's best for unusual use cases, but it does work. The other useful module, which has a lot of the same points as Entity Embed, is Entity Browser. See, there's a jargon problem. Is Entity Embed. And this one was, or is, responsible for embedding entities inside a WYSIWYG text editor. And like Entity Browser, it is open-ended, it is more complicated, and it needs a lot more setup because it was built to be generic. And also like Entity Embed, it will peacefully exist with Media Library. You can use them both in the same editor if you want, although I think that's a bad idea because your users will be confused. And because of that complexity, it's best for unusual cases. So if you need to have nodes in your taxonomy terms, in your whatevers, in your paragraphs, within your paragraphs, within your paragraphs, you can probably make it work with this module. And then the one useless module that you shouldn't use is Media Entity. Have any of you encountered this module in the wild on sites before? A little bit? One person? Okay, maybe I don't have to worry about this, but if you encounter this module, it is obsolete. It was moved into core. It became the core media module. So version 2 of Media Entity doesn't do anything. It's just an update that moves you from Media Entity 1.0 to core media. It had a big ecosystem of modules that added additional capabilities to it. Most of those also now have 2.0 versions that use the core tools. So there's really no reason to use this module. Please don't use it. So all that being said, what's next for the media initiative and the media system in core? We have a lot of bugs, because of course we do. A lot of these are usability things, accessibility things, various confusing things, other miscellaneous stuff that sucks. We need to fix as much of that as we possibly can, which is kind of a never-ending condition, really. But that's in preparation to be able to give some way for people to migrate their existing files and images to media items and their existing file and image fields to media fields should they want something like that. There's still some work to do in this space before that can really be ready. There's the possibility that this will replace the file and image modules or otherwise displace them, possibly subsume them. Nobody really knows what's going on there, but the relationship between media, file, and image modules in core still has to be kind of figured out. And then we will be able to add the media library and media modules to core out of the box. So currently, when you install Drupal just normally, these modules are there. They're stable, but they're not enabled, mostly because of the fact that their relationship to file and image is so murky from a user perspective and from a site builder perspective, which is also why I'm doing this session. So adding those out of the box will be sort of the end goal of the media initiative, and that's where we're headed. So that will probably happen later in Drupal 9, I would imagine. Don't know exactly when, but hopefully soon. And that's all I had for you. Ask me anything, except that, because I don't know the answer. Yes?
Me?
Yeah, you had your hand up.
I'm really eager about this because I have a client who wants Instagram videos on the project. Would that be best handled in a custom module that extends the media module? Do you know a good contributed module for Instagram videos?
Yeah, there's one called Media Entity Instagram. And that supports Instagram stuff.
Even without the media entity module that you said is obsolete?
Well, so as I said, jargon problem. It's called Media Entity Instagram because it originally worked for Media Entity, but it now uses, its 2.0 version uses Core Media. So yes, basically anytime you see a contributed module that starts with Media Entity, it probably works with Core Media and they haven't renamed it.
Thank you, that's really helpful.
Oh, the question, by the way, was can this work with Instagram videos? Answer, then question, yes.
So you talked a little bit about that like murky relationship between media media entities and then like the standard file and image fields. So are people actually talking about like removing file and image fields and like with the idea of just being 100% with media entities?
So the question was, are people talking about removing the file and image modules entirely? So that is literally impossible because media depends on the image field because the image source there creates an image field when you create an image media type. So we need to have the image module around in some form, or at least its functionality. The real problem comes from like if you're a site builder and you don't know any of this stuff, and you go to like create a field for adding like a sloth to your articles or whatever, you see those options in the field UI. It's like file, image, media, and you're like, what's the difference? So kind of making it much more clear what's actually available and what the preferred path is sort of the goal there. So I don't know exactly what the future of the file and image modules will be. It's been suggested to kind of roll them into the media module, but I don't know yet what we're doing. I think it just has to be clearer for people. Anything else? Yes?
Can you overwrite the alt text when you use it as a reference field and not an entity embed?
The question was, can you override alt text when you're using it when you're using media from a reference field? The answer is we are working on that because that is a thing that is definitely needed. There's a patch that's being worked on actively, and it probably would be Drupal 9.1 at the earliest. No promises. Yes?
Just on an accessibility thing, can you stop that video from moving?
Oh yeah, sorry, that's super annoying. All good?
Thanks.
Yeah, no worries. What's up?
If you have a site with media entity, how do you move it to media?
So media entity, the question was, if you have a site with media entity, how do you move it to media? So the media entity module in its 2.0 version will do that migration for you. And there are instructions on media entity's project page that explain how to do that. I'll give you some links. Anything else? Yes?
Can you add custom fields when you upload a media type? Like you just saw you uploaded an image that was alt text. Can you add more fields to that?
Yes. Yeah. The question was, can you add more fields when you're uploading media in the media library? Yeah, see me afterwards. I can demo that for you very quickly. It's super easy. Yeah?
Is it possible to associate multiple images with one caption?
Is it possible to associate multiple images with one caption? I'm trying to figure out how that would look in practice. I'm sure it's possible, but I think I would need to know more about your use case to like see what the desired outcome was.
I mean, I'm thinking of one very specific use case, but I know the HTML spec for Fig captions is intended to support multiple so I'm just because it seems like the caption is sort of assumed as like a one-to-one relationship.
Yeah, which would probably be the most common thing. Yeah. I can totally think of a way you would do that now. So thank you for clarifying. If you could have a media type where the source field, like you'd have an image media type and make the source field multi-value, for example, and then display the source field as a figure with a single fig caption. So that would be one way to do it. So yes, it's theoretically possible. I have not tried this though. Yes. Are you good?
Yeah, I think I'm good. I was just going to comment on that if the media entities are fieldable, right? It's just a matter of redisplaying the caption with the image in your own template for them, right? If I understand correctly, the captioning is really part of CK Editor, basically, right? It didn't really come with, right?
Well, that's like. So the question is sort of about like the relationship of the captioning in CK Editor versus where it lives on the media item, and that's kind of a dirty secret. It's not a secret. It's more just like the idea here.
From the National Geographic.
Well, I'm talking into a recording box right now, so it's going out there. The idea is basically that when you create the media item, sort of it has its own existence, right? And it has a caption maybe associated with itself, and then when you use it in CK Editor, you can override that, for that particular usage. And as he just asked me, that should also be possible for entity references as well, but it's not yet. So, yeah. Anything else? No?
I have a question that's very hard to put into words. It has, there's a very specific problem that I'm having with a specific website. And it has to do with the form display widget, on a field. Essentially, the client has they want to be able to upload a PDF file, and they want to be able to, when they're editing it, and it is inside of a paragraph already, so I have no say in it, but they want to be able to, when they're editing the node that this entity reference to the media thing is on, they want to be able to click on it and edit its, it's got a friendly name instead of the file name, and I even added I added the image, maybe I'm not even supposed to do this, but I added the image field from the image media type to the file media type so that they would have a thumbnail of it, which was what they wanted there too. So you could edit that on the page if you click the little pencil on that thing, but then when they had me move it into the node so that you could edit it from within their paragraphs interface that they like, you can edit all this stuff in one place. Suddenly you could no longer change the friendly name of the file from that widget. And I could change it to the other widget, which was again, the terminology. This is way, I'm sorry, but if I change it to the entity browser, which is the one that I'm trying not to use, then they can edit it there, but that one won't upload what I wanted to upload because it says that the entity must be of type media. So I either need it to be able to edit the attributes by clicking on the widget in the form display of this node, which the media library doesn't do, or I go back to the entity browser one, which does that, but it won't let me upload what I want. And I can't decide what the question is. Like, I was thinking, is there a way to just conditionally display a different widget for that same thing, depending on whether there's a value in it or not? Or is there just a way to make it so that when you're editing it, you can click on it and you can actually edit what you want to edit, which would be preferable?
So I can't repeat the question because it was long, but see me after the show.
Yeah.
That's an interesting question, and I smell mad science.
It's a weird edge case, and I'm sorry to...
That's okay. I said ask me anything.
Yeah.
Challenge accepted. All right, any other questions, or shall we break for coffee and whatever? We'll break for coffee. Thank you.